basically what I'm doing is just making some marks to tell me where I want things to be. And I'm starting to gesture a little bit. So basically, I've used gestures to create organizational lines. These are not fully developed gestures yet. These were just preliminary marks of me thinking, based on my thumbnail, where did I want things, and in this sense of format, where do I want to place them? So that's what I'm going to do here, is basically get those placed, just so that as I'm gesturing, I'm going to look at certain areas and get those right, but I know kind of where my format is. Once again, I find it much easier to calibrate my arm and my eye. So basically now I'm going to start to do real gestures, looking at the objects, and just get my calibration of where I want things to be. Kind of as I'm looking, I'm making eye movements and marks that are in that space. And you can always go back and fix this. You can always, I try to make my preliminary gestures for a real drawing. Like if I know I'm going to make this into a serious drawing, I try to be a little bit light-handed. As you notice, I'm almost just letting this float. I'm just holding it tight enough to keep a grip on it, but I'm just basically letting it slide across the page here. I see a little bit of this coming around here. That comes up there. Make sure these lines, one of the main things when you're doing gestures, make sure that lines that continue behind something pick up where they left off. So you want to know that when you draw this line's going to pick up here. This one's easy because over here the line is a little bit of width to that. Bring this from here. Comes down by his head there. Bring that up. Bring this around. Flower. Another thing, I know it's cliche, the old artist in the thumb. I tend to use my object. I will visually hold my arm out at length, squint one eye, and I'll use, by sliding this, that becomes a measure of where I need to be. And then I can do that kind of distance over here by just changing it. So basically what I'm doing now is just seeing how wide that needs to be. And I'm actually going to switch back to what we did the first day. I'm going to actually stop and take my time because that flower's got a lot of detail I want to make sure I get right. This cat, because it's a stuffed animal, doesn't have to be perfect. I just need to give it that sort of irregularity of a stuffed animal, try to make sure I get certain gesture lines to define the personality the right way. But this I want to be believable as a rose. So what I'm doing now is I'm pushing a little bit harder. I'm just using my drawing like we did the first day, taking my time. I am cheating and looking because I want to make sure I kind of stay where I'm at. But this is what you're going to develop. You're going to find that you mentally shift back and forth between the techniques I'm teaching you and use them as they help you. It took me years to realize that a gesture drawing wasn't just a practice, that you use gesture to develop things. I also didn't realize that thumbnails weren't just some assignment my teacher made me think about. Use thumbnails to your advantage. Each thing I'm teaching you should build to the next, and that becomes how you find your way to use those things, and you'll find that you switch back and forth. I have stopped in the middle of a drawing before and actually done more thumbnails just to think about relationships. And that's one of those things that I want you to give yourself the opportunity to do that. Now I want this flower to just barely come close to that picture plane without touching, because a sharp point near the picture plane, and I don't want it to be on that exact line. So I have to make a decision. I've got the ground plane here and I've got this coming down to a point. So here's where you get to cheat. I have to make a decision here. So in this stage is when you get to make that. I think I want that to be floating, so I'm going to bring that point up and make the picture plane below it. And that decision right there will make everything, you know, have a more sophisticated sense to it. Now just come on down. I'm going to speed up just to get this going. And I am being a little heavy-handed here because I'm doing more of a blind contour. I call it a hybrid contour when I start doing this, because this is a little bit contour, but I'm going quick, so it is still a little bit gestural. But you'll find your balance. There's no exact way to do this. You have to make it your own and find how to make it work for you. There we go. That kind of gives me an idea. I also like to make gestural marks to kind of define the direction of the picture plane. So when you think, or the ground plane, when you think about the ground plane, it has a sense of motion, but it's also horizontal. So on every drawing, I recommend you do this. I always do this now. I think about where's that ground plane, those lines. I cheated. The table I'm using has a texture. It's a wood grain with a texture. So it kind of helps me cheat and know what angle these ground planes are coming at. So I've got a stem that sticks out here. The bird tail sticks out here. So let me get this drawn in. I'm going to basically, this is a little ceramic cardinal. So basically what I'm going to do is just kind of a hybrid of the, and there's another random little Christmas tree ornament. I'm not going to worry about that. That's going to be like right here. That gives me space there. So I'm making these, I consider these to be organizational lines. When you start defining the direction of your ground plane, that helps you understand the sense of motion. Because we're going to have, in a drawing, there's not just the two-dimensional composition. I believe there's actually a three-dimensional sense of space. What's going on? If everything's crowded to the front and the background seems too empty, it's kind of, to me, pushes you and keeps you from entering into that space. But I definitely don't want it to be too far back and have, you know, infinite space. I want this to be a little more intimate. So basically what I'm doing is I'm now looking behind the objects. And I'm just saying, okay, I actually got lucky that if I stand here and cheat, well, this is here. So to balance that out, I'm going to go right here. There's actually a piece of furniture back there. I don't want it to be dominant. This is just going to be basically very lightly shadowed. And there's leaves that come out here, but I don't want this space to be too empty. So I've already got this stem that comes out. And I'm going to just cheat and make some leaves come off that stem just to give that. And I'm also going to let this, what's going on in the background, balance this out. So over here, there's just some random stuff. I'm just gesturing those in very lightly. This is going to be a low contrast, kind of low defined edge. So there we go. That is what we're going to do for your next assignment. By next Wednesday, you are going to come up with an arrangement. You can draw anything you want. I recommend drawing objects. Do some thumbnails, arrive at a good composition, and then I want to see those marks of the lines that you're using as organizational lines. So like here, my organizational line was that was one, this was one, that was one, that's an organizational line. So you're just going to basically use lines to define where things go. Then you're going to then you have to worry about all of it. Then you just have to focus and gesture in knowing, hey, this is where this object's going to be. let me put that there. Oh, let's get his, this is okay. When you're trying to get details, it is easier to sometimes do. I'm still gesturing. I'm not being sketchy. I'm still keeping my pencil or my woodless graphite moving, but I'm doing it in a smaller way just to get it. So there's kind of what we do. Let me get the kitty cats. Okay, the eyes actually come off of there a little more. Let me get the gestures of those. This actually has some really nice contrast between the fur and the ears on the inside. There's a line that comes there, and then this comes here. Now, I start to use this like shorthand. I'm going to just make some little marks, almost gestural marks, that I know, hey, I'm going to make that texture. This has kind of a rough, feathery texture. It's not soft feathers, but kind of, you know, cast ceramic. The wood, it's up to you how to do that. This has those cat hairs sticking out there. So I want to bring that around. But this is basically going to be up to you. I know that I want to drop the length. I'm looking at the proportion of this, realizing that I need to make the paw a little more, down a little more. So this is all I'm doing now. Now I'm starting to do just an extended gesture, fixing things, looking on each little thing. As I'm gesturing, I'm looking back going, hey, what adjustments do I need to make? But as you can see, I mean, in about, what, 15 minutes max, I have the start of a drawing. I could actually take this kind of ambiguous set of marks, and if I wanted to use the processes that we're going to learn through the rest of this class, I could sit here and focus on that, and I can go all the way to photorealism with that if I want to invest that much time and that much control. So that's what I want you to realize. This is the basic foundation of this entire class and the way I want you all to learn to draw. How do you get started? How do you think about what you're wanting to accomplish? How do you use those basic techniques of observation and thinking about it to arrive at the activation of a design? And after this, it's just the fun part. For me, it's the fun part. Just slowly paying attention to more details, adding in those details, and then eventually we'll get into all the other techniques. So I hope that helps. I will post your assignment, but you basically see what to do, as large a paper as possible. And I hope you'll have a really great holiday weekend.